With the Warden and the Paunch DLC just around the corner and now officially announced, there have been a number of Old World updates to the Greenskins. So in this video today, I'm going to cover all of those changes and sweeping updates to the Greenskins because there are quite a lot. What I hope to really do here is go through each one of the characters, their new and improved skill trees, and it isn't a whole bunch different, but each one now has a nice, unique, skilled branch that is very intriguing, and it kind of colors how that character is meant to be played in the campaign. In addition, we're going to cover the new Waagh ability, as well as the new Waagh mechanic, and also go into salvage and the new technology tree. The way I'm going to structure this is I'm going to go through each one of the new skill trees first, and then we'll jump forward in a campaign discussing the new technology tree, how that salvage tree plays into it, as well as the new Waagh army ability, because it is quite vast and different. We'll also touch on every character's Waagh ability because it's different per orc. Every legendary lord has their own Waagh ability, and it's pretty exciting and a very fun way to play through a Greenskin campaign right now. So let's jump on in here. It's going to be a pretty dense amount of information, so I hope to get this to you guys in a pretty concise manner. And before we get into our first character, I do have to throw a heavy disclaimer up front. We unfortunately cannot cover Grom the Paunch in this video. I will be covering him next week, and I can cover all portions of the FLC Greenskin rework in this video, but unfortunately no portions of the DLC. So let's jump into our first character and get working with that Greenskin rework. And our first character is going to be Skarsnik, the leader of the Crooked Moon clan. And I've never been really big on Greenskins when it comes to all their little nuances. So if I do miss a small percentage here or there, I do apologize up front, but I do want to try and convey some of the big sweeping changes that are coming with this DLC. So if we go over this, his faction effects here, we can see that his Waagh has a chance to contain Doom Divers. Every single character has a special Waagh and the Waagh ability in their actual battlefield. So what I mean by that is when they summon a Waagh, every single character at a legendary lord's Waagh ability will have a chance to summon something different. And in combat, let's take a look at Skarsnik's Waagh. It is called Skarsnik's Waagh. And here's what it does. Plus 50% AP missile damage, plus 25% base weapon damage, plus 25% AP weapon damage, plus 24 melee attack, and plus 50% base missile damage, and immune to psychology. So this should give you an idea of how this is going to work going forward. We're going to talk about that special Waagh up here and how it affects him. And don't worry, we're going to go through this bar when we jump to the forward portions of the campaign with Grimgor. And this is their battle Waagh that they get actually in the battle campaign, or in the battle map itself and not the campaign map. Skarsnik himself, though, does also get a whole new skill tree. Every single one of them has a nice new skill tree here. And you can see here, this is Spite of the Bad Moon, as well as Fermented Fungi, which helps out with it causes Rampage and a huge drop in melee defense, a nice increase to speed, physical resistance, and gives him stock. Underbosses, which gives Goblin Big Boss and Night Goblin Shaman unlock abilities. And look at this, steal 25% of the experience earned by other lords. How spicy is that? Cough him up also is going to give him a magic item drop chance increase and post-battle chance of stealing magic items plus 30%. Also, he gets this last little ability, which is pretty nice. In the event that you do actually trigger an ambush, you get plus 6 AP damage to the whole Lord's army, as well as leadership, plus 10 during ambushes. And this plays very nicely into his ability, Ambusher plus 4 melee attack during ambushes, and ambush success chance plus 15%. Of course, this is really going to stack up with some of his other abilities here in the blue line. But you can really see that the game almost wants you to focus pretty heavily on Skarsnik going really hard on the actual, what's it called, ambush mechanic. I mean, he starts off with lightning strikes. Now, ambusher mechanic, again, we took a look at this one, but his Skarsnik Prodder got a little bit of a tweak in its abilities to Nasty Skulker here, but he's also got this new disgusting one called Drippin' Tips. Now, this enables Skarsnik's Death Juice. You'll be wondering what the hell this is. Well, I'm about to go through it in just a second. And this also kind of extends to, we got an increase on Squig units, Night Goblin units, Tunnel Boss, Bellower, Dodgy Geezer. But these are the ones that are kind of be across all characters. Well, at least these three right here. So what then is Skarsnik's Death Juice? It's disgusting sounding to begin with. Well, every single character has a special scrap mechanic. And scrap is this new mechanic that is present on all of the units. You can see this little translucent up arrow, just like you would say a hero. Whenever they level up, they get that little up pointing chevron. Well, now you hover over, you go over here to scrap upgrades, you click it, and you get a new menu. You can see the cost of each one of these scrap upgrades. 20, 20, 20, and this is what it does. Okay, as spiky weapons, well, it's going to increase my AP damage by 5. Liquor flask, this is going to increase my leadership by 15. And it shows you the subsequent technology that's required to unlock that scrap upgrade. Almost every single unit's scrap upgrades are gated by a technology. Well, again, all those scrap upgrades, and then there's also the unique one, fungus flask. So this is Skarsnik's death juice. It's the same thing as a normal poison, but it also has a 10-second damage over time. And it also increases melee attack by 5. So you get a really, really deadly poison added on to just your basic Night Goblin fanatics here. You can see how each one of these legendary lords having their own special scrap mechanic is going to be pretty interesting. All the other characters, for the most part, have one that kind of pays homage to them and their lore. So we'll go into each one as we dive onto each one of them. And again, you jump over here to Big Thinkin', the new technology tree, and I look at heavy metal. I can see that, okay, this is going to unlock scrap upgrades for Orc Boys, Orc Armor Boys, and Orc Big Uns. So you have to unlock these individual scrap ones. You can see anytime it says pretty much it costs scrap to upgrade it, well, that's going to unlock the corresponding upgrades for Orc Boar Boys, Orc Boy Boar, Big Bug on, Orc Boy Chariot, there we go. And also there's also this little one, Oglock the Horrible, which is an Orc War Boss, a special Orc War Boss. He doesn't have a unique model. He just kind of has one of those hodgepodge models, but he does get a bunch of benefits to controlling Orc Boar Boys. So he's basically like your Cav Lord for Greenskins, and everyone gets access to him. It's 5,000 gold to do it, but you can get access to him, and this progresses all the way over here to other things that would have scrap upgrades that are unlocked here. So this gives you an idea of how the tree itself has been reworked, kind of really gearing towards that scrap and salvage mechanic, as well as how that scrap and salvage mechanic is actually brought into every character. And even then, moreover, how that is unique depending on the legendary lord. Let's jump over to another legendary lord, and it's going to be a little bit quicker until we get to Grimgor at the very end, where we talk about his full campaign. Now, Wurrzag of the Bloody Hands, his mechanics haven't actually changed a whole ton. He's already been pretty powerful in the previous iterations of the game, so a lot of this is just going to kind of bring him up to snuff. So we can see here that his Waagh has a chance to contain savage orcs. Now, taking a look at his army and his special Wurrzag's Waagh, we can see that it increases base weapon damage by 25%, gives you that nice 22% to physical resistance, 25% to AP weapon damage, plus 24 melee attack, and then immune to psychology. So basically the big one here is obviously that huge increase to physical resistance that is going to stack with all of your savage orcs that already get that 45% physical resistance bonus. So what is his special salvage? Well, it's called the Idol of Gork, and this is going to remove some of that physical weapon damage or physical resistance by 10%, but it's going to increase their base weapon damage by 15. So if I take a look at this, 35 weapon strength, well, that's now going to be pumped up here to 50. So you can see how this is going to play very well with obviously Wurrzag's Waagh, because that 10% is going to be kind of washed away from the Waagh itself, and they're going to get such a massive increase to their weapon strength that they're just going to be total beat houses. So savage orcs are really going to just be destroying things. But that salvage mechanic also extends here to the savage orc boar boys. God, there's just a mouthful. And I think it's also to the archers. No, it's not, unfortunately. But you can see too that even the giants get their own scrap. So every single unit has scrap upgrades for it. You can really kind of fine tune this. Let's take a look at his actual skills here as I skirt all over the map. And again, nothing has really changed for the most part, from the Baleful Mask to the Squiggly Beast, to the Bonewood Staff. It's all pretty much the same, with maybe a minor tweaking here and there with percentages. But for the most part, Wurrzag was already very good out the gate, so there wasn't a whole giant need to change a bunch of his stuff. Now, he does have his whole new skill line here, though. is going to give a huge increase to melee attack and charge bonus for Savage Orc units as a whole at rank 12. This extends over into the Savage Orc Riders. So your Orc Cav is going to get that 8 bonus to melee attack with a 10% charge bonus. Fury of the Prophet is going to enable magical attacks for the entire army, which was a huge hurdle for any kind of Greenskins in general. They never had a huge, reliable access to magic attacks. This is going to just give them that hand over fist. Strips enemies of any magic resistance that they have. Local enemy armies. But not just the Lord's army and ones that they attack, it's anyone in the local region. So that's a pretty nice little benefit there. Wild Feet is going to give you perfect vigor, melee defense of plus 15, and a speed increase of 25% for Wurrzag himself. Colossal War Paint will help out with that physical resistance that you were going to be losing a little bit of, and also your Titanic Beast or Beat here. Now, this is pretty beastly, no pun intended. If I take a look at Foot of Gork, at level 2, it's going to have a cooldown of minus 50% and a Wind of Magic cost minus 3 or minus 4 for the upgraded, with a base miscast chance of minus 15%. With Titanic Beat, it's going to get a further reduction in cost to a minus 9 or a minus 6 for the upgraded. So you'll be able to use the Foot of Gork just relentlessly on your enemy. And it should be pretty awesome to bring Wurrzag to life in your new DLC campaigns for the Greenskins. Right, next here is Azhag the Slaughterer, and with his lovely pointy iron hat, as he calls it, the evil crown, he has a bevy of changes. So his Waaagh has a chance to contain wyverns, whichever you pronounce them. This is a pretty nice little bonus in and of itself. Let's take a look at his actual Waaagh ability for the combat map. It's going to allow him to cause terror and cause fear, as well as giving that base weapon damage of 25%, the typical 24 melee attack, and then the nice 25% AP weapon damage. Of course, you're not immune to psychology, but you're causing fear and terror, so you're immune to things that would cause fear and terror. So it's like de facto the same. Now let's take a look at his character skills, as this is probably the largest overhaul for him. So jumping into here, we're going to go to skills, and you can see here that the biggest thing is that the first portion of his skill tree, his spells for death magic, are not locked. The second portion is, not the first. So you can at least start to get some value out of him as a hybrid caster right out the gate. And on top of that, a lot of his abilities have been changed. So the Crown of Sorcery now gives you the Gaze of Nagash ability. In addition, his Ard armor has its own little ability here where it increases armor and melee defense. And his Slaga's Slashes gives it a passive ability as well with melee attack and leadership. Also, you still have his lovely Skull Muncha. You have Get On With It. His new little passive ability here, which will help with leadership. In addition, he gets the same 3, Tunnel Boss, Bellower, and Dodgy Geezer. Now, his special line is really geared towards Orc big guns and also just Orcs in general. So a upkeep reduction by 25% for all Orc and big guns infantry and cav units, as well as Frenzy for all subsequent units as well. Earth-Shaking Orders gives melee defense, speed, and missile strength for all the aforementioned units, again, Orc and big guns, infantry and cav units, and then Orc RR Boys and Savage Orc RR Boys. Insane Visions is going to help out with hero capacities for Shamans for Azhag, and then you also have Not Orky Enough, which gives Vanguard deployment for all Orc and big guns, infantry and cav units. This guy is definitely going to be your big Vanguard unit for the Greenskins. A chance of intercepting under the in the webway, Beast Pass, or Wolves Roots, and enemy siege holdout time is -3. Also, Wild Abandon gives you a nice charge bonus to him and that melee attack. And then lastly is Dark Nimbus. Now this one's pretty badass. So it's going to restore 4 hit points. And I don't know if you have noticed this. It no longer says restore hit points. It tells you exactly how many hit points are recovered per second. It's the same thing with Earthblood. Anything that heals is now going to tell you exactly how much it heals. Obviously, it's going to give you regeneration. So it's going to give you weakness to fire as well. But it also grants you access to Wind of Death. That's a pretty cool ability here. So you're getting 2 lore vampire spells from the Darkest Nimbus and from the Crown of Sorcery. So a pretty interesting set of situations going on here. Enables advanced lore of death magic, like I was saying earlier. So this crown is what's going to get you this second tier of death magic. But he also has a unique salvage. If I jump over here to the big guns, the Wizardly Weapons. This grants +6 armor piercing damage to these big guns as long as their leadership is not wavering. I don't remember what else gets it. So pretty much all the Orc big guns and Orc cavalry and infantry units will get access to this. So there's another mechanic I want to touch on here with Azhag, because he's right here by a faction leader. With the new rework, as long as you destroy the faction leader of another clan, you can confederate with them, just like with Norska. If I double click here, okay, ornery backslider, I know that that's the faction leader. So we're going to jump forward a little bit because I don't want you guys to have to wait through the turn timer and everything. And we'll do an auto-resolve battle, and I'll show you what happens once you destroy a faction leader. We just got ourselves a little Pyrrhic victory doing some auto-resolve action on ornery backslider here. So when I progress through this, let's occupy, no big deal. We'll press this button, and then wha-bam. We can choose one of three options. We can form a confederation. You the best boss. Show these boys what it's like to fight in the greatest Waaagh they've ever seen. Release enemy warlord. This weakling is not worth the effort. You gain some diplomatic relations with the Red Eye, but you're still at war with them, so it's really not a great idea. Execute enemy warlord. Diplomatic relations -20 with Red Eye, and then the enemy faction leader is killed permanently. So if you're playing another legendary lord and you want to get rid of a legendary lord forever and not ever use that character, this is going to execute them forever. So we're just going to form a confederation, and then we will then be granted their lands down here. So a couple things to note with this. A, it's a pretty awesome new system. I think it's a really cool way to kind of unite orcs under one big Waaagh, right? It's very thematic, it's very lore driven. But B, it can get pretty cheesy. So I pretty much, you start with Azhag right here, and move out of there. You start with him right there, and I pretty much just went over here, recruited some boys, jumped over here, and then attacked him. And I didn't wait to declare, I didn't declare war on him beforehand. I just waited till I was right next to him, and then attacked him and killed him. So you can kind of use this mechanic in a somewhat cheesy way to get right up in their face, kill them, swipe them out by confederating after that. So pretty much every single orc faction can easily be dealt with by just simply this 1-2 punch of getting right next to them, trespass, and then just stomp out the army, and there you go, you've grown your army. Now, with that though, we've gained a little bit of our Waaagh meter. So, we're going to jump over to Grimgor. We're going to talk about his skills and everything, but then we're also going to talk about the Waaagh meter and also the new prize system and the regiments of renown that are unlocked from that Waaagh meter. Alright, now it's time for the biggest and baddest of them all, Grimgor Ironhide and his R-boys. So, as you would have expected, the Harbinger of Gork, it will allow him to have a chance to contain black orcs in his Waaagh. Probably wasn't a surprise for you guys. So let's take a look at his actual Waaagh, and we're going to take a look at a couple other things too. Because we're also going to look at the Waaagh mechanic right now, the trophy mechanic, and the new regiments of renown. So if I go right over here, we can see Grimgor's Waaagh. Now, keep in mind some of these abilities here. So this duration is 18 seconds, plus 24 melee attack, 50% AP and base weapon damage, as well as immune to psychology. Now he also gets his unique scrap, that is right here. Immortals armor, a reference to the Immortals special unit that you used to get from tabletop in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. You can nominate a unit of Black Orcs as Immortals. So not only can you get their banner, the Immortals, you also get Immortals armor here. And the Immortals armor grants 25 armor and also causes fear. In conjunction with this, the banner, the entities cannot die while ability is active. So it's a new ability that will be planted onto them. They can stay alive. So very similar to what we get with the Cult of Sotek in the Regiment Renowned for the Red Crested Skinks. Now there's some other very interesting, and he is clearly roided out. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the size of agents is much larger on the campaign map. And lords increase in size too. Good lord, he's just bulging out of himself like a summer sausage. So if we come over here to skills, there's a couple things I want to take a look at. The biggest one though is this. He gets a new ability, You're Next. It's a Lord ability which will reduce melee attack, a significant drop in speed and melee defense. This is one of the big ways that they've used, or they've tried to kind of bring Grimgor up to par and not just getting completely downtrodden by other characters. Now, there is another one that we're going to get to in just a little second here. He also gets his special line, Best of the Best, which is going to increase melee defense and physical damage, damage resistance. Now, you're probably thinking this is all going to be geared towards Black Orcs. It's going to be a little bit, but Grimgor is really the tried and true beat stick here. He is meant to focus down and kill things as fast as possible, and that's what we're going to be getting. So Black Orc Wrecking Ball gives AP damage and charge bonus to your Black Orcs. Big Ada is going to give you Orc Biggins and Savage Orc Biggins bonuses with bonus versus large and leadership. But Imposing Presence is going to give Grimgor himself fear and terror. Then Vitamin Shrooms, not to be confused with multivitamins, is going to give him a 15% bonus to his hit points. And then from the front, 15% speed bonus. So if I take a look here, he's got 38 naturally. It's going to bring him up to 43. And it's going to give him Frenzy. He is going to be a monster. So you can really see how they've really overhauled Grimgor to be a lot better in combat situations. He also gets Hatred, which is an additional 15% to his weapon strength. He's got his Skarsnik, which has got, I think, a little bit of a tweaking to some of the abilities here and there. But for the most part, we all know what Skarsnik is. But look at this. Blood Forged Armor with the ability Blood Forged Armor. But it gives you an explosion effect that does not affect friendly troops, causes moderate magical damage, and it increases his armor by 30. So it's pretty amazing here. You get this nice explosion, you get a clearing effect like you get from Krokgar or Deathmaster Sniksh and the such, and you can get Grimgor out of combat quickly, and it also boosts his armor. So there are so many ways to keep him alive and give him a way to chase down other enemies. So I really like the overhauls to Grimgor here. Now, if we take a look here at the top, we see the Waagh. The call to the Waagh. And if I hover right here, where is it? Right there. All Greenskins want to fight for the most successful tribe. Once you have earned enough reputation, you can issue a call to Waagh and target any visible faction. Your armies will then be joined by extra mobs that will help your Waagh raise or occupy the target's capital in return for a trophy and reward. So you have to do things to gain reputation. Raising buildings will gain your reputation and also earn you scrap. One thing I unfortunately did not go into in detail earlier, but Greenskins are not above pilfering used weapons and other junk from the battlefield. Do it so indiscriminately. Any scrap you gain, you're just going wild down there. I'm gonna go over here. So any scrap you gain in the aftermath of your warmongering can be put towards improving the tribe's war capabilities, such as unit equipment, upgrades, and technologies. You can see the majority of what we've gotten so far is from discovered in battle. So anytime you win a battle, you get scrap. And from raising settlements, you'll get scrap. Raiding, missions, technology, previous Waagh success. And it shows you, of course, how you're going to be using it. So with this, if I click this button up here, it's going to call the Waagh. Little thing pops down. It's pretty cool. And I can select my targets. And you can see this little skull will determine what the kind of target is. So over here, that's a Greenskin skull, you know, trophy preview, kill the boys. If they're not with the Waagh, they'll get killed by the Waagh and eaten, of course. Over here, I get kill the bonies. I'm going to be killing undead. Up here, we got to kill the stunties for some dwarfs. And over here, we get kill the Yumis. I don't think I have any high elves. Oh, right over here, I think it's... Oh no, kill the ratties. So this is for Skaven over here. Helps with growth and replenishment. Each one of these is going to give different benefits depending on which type of trophy it is. So this is for Ratman or Skaven, growth and casualty replenishment. This is for dwarfs, so construction cost reduction and weapon strength. Other Greenskins is leadership and recruitment cost reduction. Then if I go over here to humans, it's charge bonus and obedience. And lastly, of course, are our undead, which is winds of magic, speed, and income from post battles. Imric is right over here somewhere, so I thought he would be on this, but I guess not. So you also get these numbers at the top. This is the faction strength rank. And this will tell you which kind of trophy you're going to get. The trophy will be rewarded for successfully raising or occupying a faction's capital. Factions ranked 1 to 10, factions ranked 11 to 30, factions ranked 30 and below. So right now this faction strength is only 110, so it's not going to give me the biggest and the baddest, right? So if it's a 30 and below, it's going to be a big trophy. Now, if I go out here on the map, let's see, 30, 31 are over here. So this would give me still the big trophy, but let's just say it was number 1 for hypothetical purposes. It would give me the biggest trophy. And what does that mean? Well, let me exit out of this menu real quick and go over here to one of my other armies. I'll click the Regiments of Renown. So there are 6 new campaign-exclusive Regiments of Renown. Nothing new and crazy or unique model-wise about these guys. They're all pretty much other units from the game with some new abilities. So these first 2 cover the big. It says the big trophy. If you get a big trophy, it's basically a currency you can use to purchase one of these in your army, Regiment Renown at any given time. Now, the biggest trophy, the bigga trophy, is for armored squighoppers and feral wyverns. Then I get feral hydras and lava arachnarok spider in the biggest trophy. So this gives you a way to really take advantage of using the Waaagh mechanic. And the Arachnarok spider is insane. He gets like a mortar on his back. This thing right here, the Arachnarok eruption, and also he gets like the thermal vortex, which does damage around him. He's disgusting. He's awesome. And you get your lava spider rider archers. So you get a lot of cool things with this, and it really encourages you to do your Waaagh. And again, let's look over the Waaagh here real quick before we click this button. You're going to start right here in this little bracket. And as you go up to Stragula, it's going to give you growth, obedience, leadership, and recruitment cost. That's going to scale as you get up here to the Waaagh manga, the top end. This is again going to increase your growth, obedience, and leadership until you're right there on that call to Waaagh. And once you do this, you've got 20 days to complete the Waaagh. And once you do, you jump down here to bottom Fida. Massive reduction to your growth, obedience, leadership, and recruitment. So you pretty much, it forces you to immediately get right back into a fight after your Waaagh expires. So let's click call to Waaagh. Let's just click Myrmidons over here. And then it will ask you if you want to dedicate this Waaagh to Gork or Mork. Now, Mork is going to give you bonuses to your missile strength, and it will replace your army ability with a big Waaagh. Now, Gork will give you plus 10% to weapon strength and give you a big Waaagh. Now, look over here. Here's Grimgor's Waaagh. Keep in mind, 18 seconds, 24 melee attack, 50% AP base weapon damage. We're going to go with Gork because this is, of course, Big Daddy Grimgor. I'm going to click on Grimgor and look. So it gives us a further increase to that base melee attack from 25 now to 40. Still the same, actually a little bit of an increase there. But for the most part, you're just going to get a little bit better of a Waaagh. So what this also does is, if I zoom in, I get a secondary army right here, Waaagh army view. And this Waaagh army, if I hover over this, it'll give me the tooltip, will give me all the details. A Waaagh army will grow to the same number of units its parent army had when the call to Waaagh was made. The type of units that join the army can depend on its location or your faction leader. And right now I can see it's at 5 out of 20. And I'm over here in these Savage Orc lands. So what is my army comprised of? Savage Orcs. So as I kind of progress through this, and this unit also gets a big Waaagh, of course. It's its own general in here that'll have its own. It'll have its own Waaagh that will be controlled by the AI if you so wish it. This is something that's been brought back in this DLC and FLC subsequently, is the ability for the AI to control the larger army if you so wish it. So that's kind of a nice little caveat there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump ahead to me attacking Myrmidons to show you guys how that really plays out. But essentially, this army is going to build itself up over time. It takes about 4 or 5 turns for it to build. And I'll just click this button real quick and we'll probably get some little activities. Now, to keep in mind here, the Waaagh is going to activate for all of your armies. So these guys actually have a... this is a settlement. This will just kind of do its own thing. So every single army will get a Waaagh army attached to it. So if you've got 2 armies out there, it will have a secondary Waaagh army attached to it. And of course, this one didn't have a chance to really kind of get big and strong, but it was destroyed quick and dirty like by Skaven. Skaven and Greenskins, just 2 of the most disgusting spelling factions I could ever imagine. This is a time where I wish I had the skip diplomacy mod right now. So, jumping back over here, it's now increased. I think it was at 4 or 5 out of 20. Now it's at 8 out of 20, and we've gotten some more goblins, and we've gotten more savage orcs. So let's jump ahead just a little bit here to us fighting Myrmidons. Okay, here we are in the city, and just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, here is now our fully set up Waaagh army, and I can click this button to allow the AI to control this army, and I never have to deal with it. So if your micro kind of stresses in those 20 plus battles, you can just click this and the AI will take care of it. They'll have their own Waaagh and everything. Let's just go ahead and auto-resolve this, though. Close victory. And you've got 2 choices here. So you can occupy the city. If you do, you see we're at turn 14 left in our Waaagh, you have to hold the city until the end of turn 14. If you just simply raise it, you complete the Waaagh immediately. So raise it. Yeah, I'm right, Grimgor. The Waaagh successful. Your Waaagh successfully raised its target. The additional Waaagh units shall stay with your armies for the remaining duration of the call to Waaagh, after which you will be awarded your trophy. In the meantime, you may continue to use them for your destructive ends. So you get to have a little fun with this. You now have a full additional 20 stack to go romping and a stomping through the Wild West over here. And what that allows you to do here is that you won't get this trophy until you complete all 14 days of the Waaagh. Then you'll drop down here at the very end. But it shows you how strong the Waaagh mechanic can be. Unfortunately, you saw both my other armies get destroyed. But again, it gives you an idea that you can actually get very, very strong with your Waaagh after one click. You can go from having 3 armies to effectively 6, as long as you're in the right place at the right time with your Waaghs and your strategic placement of your armies. So I'm really, really, really stoked on the new Waaagh mechanic. I think it brings a lot to the game, and I really like the new technology tree for the Greenskins here. It's focused mainly around, okay, do you want to go goblins? Do you want to go mainly orcs? Okay, well then over here you're going to be able to choose, okay, do you want to go through trolls? Do you want to go through the rogue idols? So on and so forth. So as you progress through this DLC, I really encourage you guys to play with this a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, I cannot show any of the new stuff here. That is going to be reserved for Creative Assembly and their streams. But on Tuesday, this next coming week, you can see all the new high elf units and all the new Greenskin units. I'm going to be doing 2 separate videos for them, showcasing their units in a nice, awesome battle, probably alongside Turn, Dov Plays, or any of the other folks that I always hang out with. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If you have any questions about the Greenskin rework, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I will give you as much details as I possibly can. I'm just going to close this video out really quick by jumping back on over to the save a little bit ago. We can take a look at the new FLC mount. Just here is that glorious catch web spider mount. Now, this is for the Goblin Great Shaman. It's going to have quite a beefy stat line here. It's going to have anti-large AP. It's going to be poison attacks, poison range attacks because of the Hadab on the back there. A good range at 100. I mean, this thing is going to be just terrifying. Got Strider, so it's going to be able to move through difficult terrain. But I just wanted to show this thing off here as we close our video out here today. So again, if you have any questions about the rework, please by all means leave a question below, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. If you have not yet purchased the DLC, you can purchase it from the link in my description here. That's going to go through Fanatical. It'll give you a Steam key, but it's a great way to support the channel because I do get a commission on that, and there is a discount attached to it as well. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Like I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of fun action. And next week, we will cover the High Elves and the Greenskins brand new units in 2 subsequent videos that both do battles of each on next Tuesday. As always, though, have a good one and take care.